The best way to avoid that trap and get around it is I want you to do something that's going to sound a little crazy when I say it, but stick with me. Buen camino. Let's talk about the trek from Hornillos del Santiago to Castrojeriz. The trek is 19.5 kilometers, so a pretty short day. It took us 26,700 steps, and we did it in 5.5 hours. It was a pleasant day. It was funny because it seemed like the entire town of Hornillos emptied out at the same time. We were in a huge crowd and we were walking with people most of the day, which is unlike most days we've had so far. But it was really interesting. Eventually, as the trail continues, everyone spreads out. Burgos, which was the town before, is supposed to be the start of the meseta. And from Burgos to Hornillos, we didn't really notice much of a difference in the terrain. But heading towards Castrojeriz, we noticed things were getting flatter, getting drier, a bit of a different terrain. You can see that we are hitting the meseta, and that is very interesting to see. It's not a long hike, so it's not hard, but there's really only one town along the way. I think it's about halfway, and they do have a nice cafe there. You're not going to find a lot else in between. There are some albergues you could stop at if you wanted to stop for the night, but not really any towns. We stayed in Castrojeriz. We stayed at Albergue Casanova. It was a little place we found just walking along the road. We didn't book ahead. They did have a triple room that we used as a private room with a private bath, and it was a really interesting space. The whole place was interesting. It was very rustic in both the good sense and the quirky sense. Like in the good sense, the tiles were intentionally put down a bit wonky to make it look older, but in the quirky sense, we opened our window and there was a chicken coop right outside. So it was a very rustic place. Our room was a huge sprawling room that was probably meant to be a dorm. It had a kind of a communal bathroom with 2 sinks. So I don't really know why there were only 3 beds in that room, but that's what it was and that's what we got. The funny part about the room was when he said there's one bad thing about the room. We were like, okay, lay it on us. He said the laundry room is in the hallway that is open to the room. There's no door between the room and the hallway. And he said occasionally he'll have to go into there to use the laundry, and if a guest needs laundry done, he's going to be in there doing the laundry. And we were like, we don't care. We're pretty much a private space, and we were happy with that. For food, we did groceries most of the day, but we did stop for lunch in Ontanas, which is the one town I told you about along the way. The cafe is as soon as you get into town. And we had some sandwiches and a donut type thing. And all of that came to, I did not put down the price, so you won't get to know how much that costs. But anyways, our albergue for that private triple room was 40 euros. The town of Castrojeriz, I really loved it. First of all, the entrance to the town is gorgeous. You're coming through a valley and you can see this huge church out in front of you and the big mountain behind it. The castle, there's a ruined castle up on the hill behind the town. It's very picturesque. The town itself is fairly large, and they have lots of albergues, lots of restaurants. They have grocery stores. They have anything you might need. They even have an interpretive center there for the Camino. So if you're interested in learning more about the Camino, you could go see that. We did not, I don't think it was a holiday when we were there, so it was not open at the time. We may have taken a peek depending on the price. Oh, today we'd like to give a shout out to Missy and Lucy, both of which are from Melbourne. They are not hiking together. They met at a dinner when we were all together at dinner at one of the Pilgrim dinners, and they found out that they live around the corner from each other, literally around the corner, which is pretty amazing. We've run into both of them several times along the road since then, and they've been really fun to get to know.
Buen Camino and good morning. So today I wanted to do a follow-up to the video I did yesterday on etiquette. And I think this is a very important addendum. I think, I wanted to talk about etiquette because as someone who tries to be fairly self-aware, it's something that's important to me, right? I want to make sure I'm not only having the best experience I can have, but that the people around me are also not being negatively impacted by me having a good experience. So it's something I like to talk about. I mean, in that video, I talked about a few of the major things. I didn't even talk about everything that you could possibly do. It's just, being self-aware and considerate. However, what you're going to find when you get out on the trail is that not everyone cares about that, or they have cultural differences that give them different perspectives. There's lots of different reasons. But I'm here to tell you, I promise, all the things I told you not to do yesterday, you're 100% going to see people do. And I just wanted to give you a little caution, because sometimes I've seen people will take that fact that people are going to do things that you shouldn't do, I'm doing my air quotes, as a reason to be upset and a reason to get frustrated at their fellow pilgrims. And as a reason to not be able to fully be in the moment and enjoy themselves because they get so focused on other people behaving badly. And I want to encourage you not to do that. It is not worth it. And you don't want to fall. It's a total trap, right? And so what I have found, the best way to avoid that trap and get around it is I want you to do something that's going to sound a little crazy when I say it, but stick with me. I want you to give people permission to behave badly. I want you to give them permission to put their backpacks on their beds and to be really noisy and play music on the trail and to go clicky clacky with their poles through the town. Give them permission to do it. And I know if you're a person, again, who, like me, you don't want people to do those things. Giving them permission to do that can seem very counterintuitive and really weird. But here's what I mean by that, is that you're not going to go up to them and tell them, I'm giving you permission to do this, right? You're not giving them permission for their sake. They're going to do whatever they want to do anyway. You have no control over it. What you do have control over is your own head. And by giving them permission, it gives you so much peace, because then you don't have to worry about it. They have permission to do that. You're not going to do it because you've made another choice. But if they're going to do it, you withholding your permission, it seems like the right thing to do, but withholding your permission, all it does is set you up for frustration, because you have no control over what they do, whether you give them permission or not, right? It's completely out of your control what they do. And so it just is a way to give you a little bit of peace. I promise you do not want to fall into that trap. I see people do it. I have done it in my life, right? But once it's just a little brain hack, right, from the former life coach. Giving people permission in your head lets you absolve yourself of that responsibility of paying attention to it at all, because you don't care. And of course, I'm being a little romantic. You're definitely going to notice the clicky clacky. But if you don't have to be frustrated about it and you don't have to be angry about it, it's going to free you up to be in the moment of your own Camino, which is kind of the point, right? The Camino is teaching me a lot of lessons that I did not anticipate. Number one being in humility. And I want you to stay open to those lessons that the Camino might have for you. And I'm pretty sure that kind of basking in that self-indulgent frustration is probably not the lesson. So I encourage you to think about this. By all means, do everything you can do to be the pilgrim that you want to be, but don't worry about what other people are doing, whether they are an excellent pilgrim or what you would consider a terrible pilgrim. It's not your business. Let them have their experience. We have no idea what they're going through, where they're coming from, where they're headed, what lessons they're going to learn. But you can focus on your own experience and who you want to be. So be that good pilgrim. Absolve yourself of the responsibility that you have no control over anyway. Focus on yourself, be in the moment, and you're going to have a much better experience. So good luck to you and buen camino.
Today